For me this year in 2025, it is essential that I get the top end of my golf bag correct. And I've got a club in my bag that is a big problem for this certain company. And the reason why this club is a problem for a certain company, that is PXG, is because it is the first mini driver that they have brought to market. And we know there are plenty of fantastic options out in this area that could be in your golf bag. And when I did my initial review of this club, unfortunately we were inside in the UK because it had snowed. And this is the first time I'm able to get this out on the golf course. So I'll be very interested to see how it performs out here. Again, numbers inside, forgiveness wise, if we did hit it off the toe, maybe it wasn't as forgiving as I would have hoped for this club, because this is something that I need to look at in my golf bag. The top end of my golf bag, I go from my driver quickly down to a 5-wood, and a 5-wood then for me potentially, and this year it might even be a hybrid that's going in there. But there's a big gap there between a hybrid or a 5-wood, something at 18 degrees all the way to my driver. And this club for me needs to fit in the bag, but we know there are plenty of other fantastic options, as you'll see on screen there now. You can see TaylorMade have brought out the burner. We've seen they also brought out the 300 series that I did have in my bag for well over a year when I was struggling. This is why I was so excited to get this club and put it to the test, because those options you can see online can be more affordable. They can be cheaper because they're second hand. You can pick them up from places such as Golf Clubs for Cash for much closer to £300. We know that this is going to be around about £400, maybe just over for this mini driver. So it has to be worth its while. Is it worth the money for you? Is that an area of your golf bag that you struggle with? Do you use a 3-wood off the tee? That's what you need to think about when you're looking at one of these clubs. But first shots outdoors here on the Nicholas course at Reunion. Fantastic strong ball flight, drawing up that left hand side there, and that is just short of that bunker. So in the position that I want it to, there for me, it's found the fairway, it's given me a chance of being able to hit this green. But again, a nice mid trajectory there. I want to hit another one. Again, interesting thing there straight away for me that screams out was the sound of that driver. Again, one big talking point on the channel has been the sound of my current driver, my makeshift mini driver, in that Tacoma Ignis D1. Let me hit another one there, because that sounded a lot louder than I was expecting. Identical ball flights, perfect penetrating ball flight, but that sound is certainly a lot louder than the mini driver we're going to bring in now. And this TaylorMade burner driver is certainly the one that I wanted to test it against. Again, TaylorMade, somewhat of a leader in this area, because this isn't their first rodeo when it comes to mini drives. But for me, one big thing that stands out with the TaylorMade, and where potentially it would put it ahead off the tee shots, is that behind the golf ball, it does look a little bit bigger. Again, that face is a little bit deeper, and for me, especially off the tee, it gives me that little bit more confidence. And are you using a mini driver for just your tee shots? Because I think this is where potentially we would have a little bit of an advantage. I have changed this and upped the loft similar to that PXG, but for me it'll be very interesting sound wise how this sounds, because straight away outside with the PXG it certainly sounded a lot different than what I've expected or what I've been used to. And what I've been used to is using TaylorMade. I have also tested out the Callaway Paradigm mini driver, but we know, just similar for me, like the P770 and the P790, when you think about hollow body clubs, you often think TaylorMade, and I'm doing that exactly the same here. But how will it sound on this fantastic par 4? Let's see how it performs. A nice mid trajectory with the PXG. A similar trajectory, also just drawing the left hand side. Again, that is not the golf club, that is more me. Just into the rough, very similar fly, but again also not the sound that I expected. I'm used to it, or I thought I was used to it sounding a little bit more duller off the face, but straight away there, again, it is sounding a little bit louder. But we will talk about the technology after this. Again, feels fantastic. A little bit higher launch there. That looks to have gone a good distance. We are going to be testing this for numbers back at home, but let's talk a little bit about that tech. Now, 2025 is also a big year for versatility and also how much we can change these clubs. So we have plenty of changeable weights with the PXG. 4 different options, 4 different weights where we can make it higher spinning, lower spinning, draw bias or fade bias. If we go to that TaylorMade burner, we can see we can make it a low spinning driver, but we can't do anything to make it draw or fade bias. Again, we have adjustability in the sleeve to add loft to make it a stronger mini driver, maybe even close to a driver. Again, we know there are plenty of options there to get it loft wise as close as possible to a driver with the shorter shaft. But like we've seen in those pictures, we know we've got a deeper face, and that burner driver certainly looks bigger off the tee, so behind the golf ball does give you more confidence, in my opinion, to be able to feel like you're going to hit it closer to the middle of that face. When we get to the PXG, yes, it is smaller off the tee, but I think this is where it has more versatility when we are playing off the fairways, and we will hit some shots shortly doing that, because again, the one I hit at home with that PXG was absolutely fantastic, launched nice and high and did exactly what I wanted it to. So these clubs are certainly extremely versatile. You have to make sure they're in the right setting for you and decide where you want it. Is it something with a fairway finder off the tee for those shorter par 4s instead of your driver that puts you in trouble, or are you wanting it off the tee and off the fairway? Because that's, for me, where the TaylorMade is certainly behind that PXG. Now up here it was a little bit of a just left of the path, but we can see there that we've got some great front to back dispersion. So again, they've got identical distances. Yes, this one was a little bit left, but then when I did hit one well, that was exactly the same. We'll see there, 2 with James Robinson's best driver of the year. Go over to his channel to check that out. But the mini driver certainly doing well, but par 5, which one's going to be the best off that fairway? So guys, 2 extremely forgiving, different options potentially at the top end of your bag. We've not jumped in the studio, we're going to do that in another video, because the driver I currently have is the makeshift mini driver from the Tacoma D1. A driver size head, a similar shaft length to these, but how will that perform against these 2 of the latest mini drivers? But this is the real test for me, and obviously this is for me where potentially this PXG takes a lead. I wouldn't mind to hit it off the tee. I'm just going to tee a little bit lower than I would with a TaylorMade, but off the fairway for me here, this is where I need something in the bag. We're 260 yards out, we're off an extremely tight lie. How is this going to perform off that fairway? Let's see. And that has performed exceptionally well. A high launching shot, just fading a little bit, but bang on that distance. That looks to be just on the fringe even, to the right of the green. But let's go in now with that TaylorMade. So the launch on that shot is what I am extremely surprised at. I didn't feel like I had to do anything different. I've taken a nice little divot that I would expect with a fairway wood. Now this for me feels like I've got to try and potentially help it up. I'm not, I'm going to put the same swing on it, but what kind of flight will we get? Total opposite, extremely low, sounded extremely more tinny than it did with the PXG, and I think that's because of the strike location. Again, I didn't feel like I had as much confidence. So for me, PXG, do they have an issue? No, I think the first mini drive for them is competing right up there with this TaylorMade, which a lot of people will have tested out. But how will it perform against other mini drivers, including my made up one?